where true conservatives don't lie to your face, where it's not good guys versus bad guys and the other guys are the bad guys and you're the good guys. There must be a place on Earth or somewhere else, somewhere over the rainbow where no one has a forked tongue. There must be someplace safe to listen. So let me begin the show with the first headline that I have for you, which is Gorsuch, Supreme Liberal. Of course, it's put another way. The Supreme Court just handed the Trump administration a loss on immigration, and Gorsuch was the tie-breaking vote, says the Associated Press. Newsmax puts it this way. Trump's Supreme Court picks sides with libs to stop deportation of criminal illegal alien. Oh, no, that's my headline. I have no way to tell you anything except the way I see it, so I'll say it the way I see it, which is, well, Gorsuch is a Supreme Liberal. Trump's Supreme Court pick sides with libs to stop deportation of criminal illegal alien. Well, I'm the only one in the media who warned you about this. Flashback, May 2017, Savage warned you about Gorsuch. Now, I'm not ready to play it yet. I just want you to remember what I'm about to tell you. There are many poseurs in the media who pretend to be conservatives. Others pretend to be liberals. I pretend to be nothing but what I am. I have been an independent from the day I began in 1994. I call him as I see him. And I warned you about Gorsuch. I was afraid of this guy. Why exactly? I'm not so sure. But I want you to listen very carefully and never forget what you're about to hear from May 2017 on the Savage Nation. First of all, I'm going to make a prediction. Gorsuch is going to be another Roberts. Mark my words. They'll roll him. He's been rolled already. They've been brainwashing him inside. The witch, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and the others, they're breathing their foul vampire breath on his brain. He is going to be another liberal faker. As sure as watch and see if I'm wrong. That's all. Nothing long. 20 seconds. It's on michaelsavage.com. I put it up on Twitter. Flashback, May 2017. Savage warns about Gorsuch. So what do the geniuses have to say that? Wrong on this one, Michael. You know how many bots there are now on Twitter? It's full of bots. I mean, it's like machine-driven. Whatever I say now, they're saying I'm wrong. Simply because I try to point out the absurdity of Hannity and the cartel to which he belongs. I mean, you know, when I'm right, I'm right. When I'm wrong. But I know what I'm talking about. I am an independent. I have an objective reason to tell you the truth, which is to tell you the truth, or else I'll quit radio. The day I have to start telling you what I don't think is true, I will not work on radio. I'll do something else. Now, as you know, for the last few days, I've been extremely critical of Trump's big mistake in his missile launching against the so-called chemical weapon sites. There are only 3 or 4 people in the media who actually called it like it was. I was one. Alex Jones was another. My student on Fox News was another. He's a very good student. Whatever I say gets on Fox News that night on his show. He's an able student. And then, surprisingly, yesterday I read that Roger Stone, a longtime confidant of President Trump, also said it was Trump's mistake. Mr. Stone joins us today at the bottom of this hour to tell us his belief system on this subject, because I think he was misled by the neocons who have infected his administration, the neocons in the media, who were against him for a year straight and now pretend that they're as big as bootlickers. Trump's too smart to be taken in by the bootlickers in the radio business, in particular, who stabbed him in the back for a year straight and now support him on a daily basis. There's so many of them. There's a legion of them. They hated Trump for a year straight. They called you Trumpers, Trumpeteers, Trumpettes. And then the minute they saw he won, they became his greatest supporter. The greatest supporters now are those who attacked him. So a leader knows one thing. Loyalty is the most important thing amongst friends or amongst associates. Nothing else really matters. So we'll talk about the war. And I know that you're pregnantly awaiting something else for me to discuss. I don't think I'm going to talk about that. But I did notice that Alan Dershowitz, who's been a lifetime liberal, who's now become a darling of the right, because he's showing some centrist instincts, was invited on by Mr. Hannity last night, thinking that Dershowitz could be rolled to remain a regular guest on his show. And Dershowitz surprised Mr. Hannity by saying things to him that Mr. Hannity was appalled at, I believe. Listen to clip number 1 and judge for yourself.
Well, first of all, Sean, I do want to say that I really think that you should have disclosed your relationship with Cohen when you talked about him on this show. You could have said just that you had asked him for advice or whatever, but I think it would have been much, much better had you disclosed that relationship. You should have said that, and that would have been fair to say that it was minimal.
So Dershowitz retains his integrity, even when appearing on a show on Fox, which he enjoys going on, obviously, and he needs the access or wants it. Whether he will continue to be invited on the show is another question that I cannot answer. So we can talk about that if you wish. It's not the biggest topic of all, but it's a huge topic in the media right now because, to be honest with you, if you think this is a small subject, you don't understand ethics and you don't understand the drama that's going on right now. You may say, well, it's only liberals trying to bring down another conservative. Well, you could look at it that way. That's one way to look at it, but it's not the only way to look at it. There are journalism ethics experts who have taken issue with Mr. Hannity's lapse of judgment. Kathleen Culver, director of the Center for Journalism Ethics at the University of Wisconsin, said that his audience deserved to know what connections he has to the newsmakers on which he comments. She added, this is not a small matter. An organization needs to have standards for the people who do its reporting or commenting. I mean, you could just say you're a commentator, not a journalist, but that's not good enough. You understand that? Indira Lakshman, journalism ethics chair for the Poynter Institute, said whether a news reporter or opinion journalist, rules are rules. And she said, if you want to maintain credibility with an audience and be honest with them, you have to disclose all facts. I agree with her. And I'm going to go back to something I learned before I was on the radio. I knew a very powerful attorney in Washington who I met through an unrelated matter. He's since deceased. He was an advisor to John F. Kennedy in the White House. Allegedly, he was one of the most powerful attorneys of his time. I know he was extremely prominent in Washington, D.C. He, at the time, owned a number of music stations, and I was just beginning in talk radio. I think I was on one station at the time. And he said to me, just remember one thing, Michael. He said, all you've got with your audience is your integrity. And the day you lie to them is the day you're going to lose them. I said, well, I know that. You don't have to warn me about that because there's nothing to lie about. He said, well, just remember what I said to you, that all you have with your audience is their trust as a commentator. And when you lose that, you're going to lose your audience. Well, I tried to be true to that. And thus far, I believe I have been. And frankly, I have nothing to hide. And I hope that most others in the media understand that I am an independent conservative. I have been since 1994. I've never been a registered Republican, at least not recently. I don't remember if I have been or not. Nothing necessarily wrong with republicanism, but I didn't really feel comfortable with the check pants Republicans in my entire life. They were not my type, let's put it to you that way. And so if I think people on the left go off base, I tell you what I think. If I think people on the so-called right go off base, I tell you what I think. But you have to understand something. Most of you believe that it's a team game. You have the mistaken notion that those of us who are seen as, let us say, anti-liberal or anti-progressive, somehow all get together for beers at the end of the day. What you must understand, this is a vicious business that we're in. It's the most competitive business in the world. And when three of them or more have one agent and you don't, that's me, you have to understand that they gang up on you in every way they can. They block you from shows. They try to undermine your advertisers. They hire bots to destroy you on social media. They're very rich. They're very powerful. They have some of the most important attorneys in the world with unlimited funds. And so if you're David versus their Goliath, what do you expect me to do? Keep my mouth shut? Who's going to defend me? If I'm not for myself, who am I? If I'm only for myself, what am I? I'll never forget that adage. So that's the beginning of the show, not the end, I hope. And the phone number is 855-400-7282. We're open for business on these or any other topic. But, Jim, hold on. Before we go to break, I want to go back to my first point. We wake up and we find out that we got stabbed in the back by Gorsuch, Trump's Supreme Court appointee. I was leery of Gorsuch from day one. And back in May of 2017, I went on the radio and I let's say, expressed my reservations. Try to be very straight up about that. And I expressed my reservations. As you will listen to the flashback May 2017, Savage warns about Gorsuch. Listen again. First of all, I'm going to make a prediction. Gorsuch is going to be another Roberts. Mark my words. They'll roll him. He's been rolled already. They've been brainwashing him inside. The witch, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and the others, they're breathing their foul vampire breath on his brain. He is going to be another liberal faker. As sure as you watch and see if I'm wrong. That's all. That's all. Gorsuch, supreme liberal. Trump made a mistake in Syria. Roger Stone on at the bottom of the hour. But, oh, wait, I haven't gotten to this one yet. How many years have I been telling you about the garbage can that San Francisco has become under the progressive liberals who have taken over the city? How long? Too long. Well, this morning we read an article in a local mimeograph sheet all about the fact that the number one person who brings in tourists into this city is begging the city to clean up the filth and the bums. Now, I don't know if it's still in the on the mimeograph sheet. I think they dropped it already because it was too real. They couldn't have that. I don't see it anymore. It's actually, here it is. Clean up San Francisco streets, tourist industry pleads. You have no idea what the city has become in the last number of years since the progressive one-party system took over the state and the city. You have no idea what it's become under Pelosi's iron boot. You have no idea what it's come under Feinstein's iron skirts. You have no idea unless you've lived here. Do you know how many cars were broken into last year? You don't know, do you? It's swept under the rug. The dirty needles, the garbage, people injecting themselves with heroin and other drugs in broad daylight, tent camps, human feces in the streets, mentally incompetent, dangerous thugs called homeless, running after you in the streets, attacking women, attacking men, attacking children, and the police cannot do a damn thing. So the head of the tourist industry, Mr. D'Alessandro, said, we can't be quiet anymore. We've become complacent. Well, I'm really glad to hear that he's come down off of his high horse and we can't be complacent anymore. But unless you actually come to this city and see what the filth is like and see the danger you are in, and you see how much is spent on so-called homeless services that is doing nothing but buying them drugs and alcohol, you will come to understand that progressivism and liberalism is as broke as the federal government.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Beets are one of the superfoods of the world. There's so much I can tell you about it, but let me just tell you about nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in your body. It promotes healthy circulation, which gets the oxygen and nutrients flowing throughout your body, and it helps support healthy blood pressure. And you can help your body produce nitric oxide naturally by drinking Super Beets. Only Super Beets is made from beets grown to exacting standards, and the nutrients in the beets are concentrated in a way that makes them usable to the body to create nitric oxide safely and naturally. If you want to increase your body's nitric oxide levels, and you should, believe me, simply call 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com. And listen to me. With your first Super Beets order, get another 30-day supply for free, plus free indicator strips to see how Super Beets actually work in your body, and free shipping. You can't beat it. Try it. 800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to SavageLovesBeats.com.
58.
Today's technology makes a lot of things easier simply because everything is connected. Your cell phone connected to your tablet. Tablet is connected to your smart TV. And they're all connected to your Wi-Fi. Great. But it may only take one weak link in all those connections for criminals to get in. That's why new LifeLock identity theft protection now adds the power of Norton Security, which I use, by the way. While LifeLock uses proprietary technology to detect threats to your identity, like your info for sale on the dark web, The addition of Norton Security helps protect up to 5 of your devices from online threats like ransomware, and if there's a problem, LifeLock's agents will work to fix it. Of course, no one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But new LifeLock with Norton gives you more protection for today's connected world. I want you to join now and you'll get an additional 10% off your first year. Just head to LifeLock.com, enter promo code SAVAGE. That's LifeLock.com, promo code SAVAGE for an additional 10% off your first year. Crock of garbage, all of it. Just a crock of garbage. How can you believe anything that you hear anywhere anymore? How? Who do you believe now? How do you believe everyone's self-serving? Where was it written, all is vanity, number one? Number two, that it's all self-serving. You actually believe that those on the right who pretend to be for America and the good guys are cleaner than those on the left? Why do you believe that? Because they tell you that? So we can just talk about the other stuff if you want. The San Francisco horror stories. I'm glad to talk about that since I started the ball rolling on the awareness of America. Now it's cutting into their money. Maybe they'll do something about it. Do you know how many cars were broken into? There are streets filled with glass. They break into cars in broad daylight. They shoot up drugs in broad daylight. They defecate in front of your face in broad daylight. How is that even possible? Why are the police not allowed to do anything? Why have the homeless bums become sacred cows? If a human being descends to the level of criminality, why are they a sacred cow? Why? Why? Progressivism. It's a mental disorder. People cannot park their cars in the streets. Do you know how much money they spend every year on homeless bums? And yet the crime goes up? Cardboard cartons with bums in them in the front of expensive stores that merchants are spending a fortune for the rent, and you got a filthy bum in their doorway? He can't do anything, or he'll get arrested for doing it? It's a very dangerous city. It's not just dirty. Very dangerous city. I told you that. It's supposed to be one of the greatest cities on earth, and look what it's become. It's always been liberal. I understand that. I mean, I moved here many years ago. It was always a beautiful liberal city. People left you alone by and large. But then what happened was the drugs took over, and the progressivism reached the tipping point of insanity where anything goes and everything's accepted except conservative viewpoints. Anyone who loves America is considered a criminal. And then they made it a sanctuary city, not only for illegal alien drug dealers and other criminals, but a sanctuary city for every nutcase in the history of the world gravitating here to the welfare state, not only of San Francisco, but of California itself. It is like a magnet for rodents. And if you put cheese out, are you going to get more rodents or less rodents? More or less. You can't put two and two together? You have to have a conference now on how to get rid of the feces and the needles? It is the Savage Nation. Flashback, May 2017. Savage warns about Gorsuch. And it turns out, unfortunately, I was right. I said Trump made a mistake in Syria. I was one of only 3 people who are prominent in the media who said the same thing, who are normally known as staunch conservatives. The others who stabbed Trump in the back for a year and a half straight suddenly became as great as bootlickers, hoping to gain access and, of course, hoodwink you, the listeners, into thinking they were always for Trump. But I don't know. Look, if people have no memories, I can't give you a memory pill. Joining us now is Roger Stone, a lifetime friend of Donald Trump, who says Trump made a mistake in Syria. Roger Stone, line 10, welcome to the program.
Dr. Savage, delighted to be here.
Well, how many years have you known the president as a friend?
We have been friends for 40 years. I have worked on and off for him for about 30 years. He is, in a positive sense, an extraordinarily stubborn person. Very much like Ronald Reagan, when he sets his mind to something, he'll make it happen. Tariffs, for example. But I think it's important to understand that since the moment of his improbable election, in which, in all honesty, your commentary played a major role, the deep staters around him, the permanent government in place, including members of his own White House staff and his policy advisors, have done everything possible to dilute, delay, water down, sidetrack, or kill all of the major initiatives on which he was elected. They wanted him to sign climate change. He said no. They wanted him to join TPP. He said no. They wanted him to scale back the tax cuts, and he said no. Well, that's why the economy is growing at 3%. When it comes
so Roger, we both agree that he's doing some great stuff, but the thing that had me call you this morning, and you so kindly agreed to come on the show, is that there are not too many people other than you and I and Alex Jones and maybe one or two others who actually say that the Syria strike was a mistake as a result of neocons whispering in his ear. Would you elaborate on that if you believe that to be true?
Look, how many times can the permanent government in place play the same dirty trick? It was only months ago that we launched a surgical strike on an air base in Syria in retaliation for reported chemical attacks that we still cannot prove were the act of the Assad government. General Mattis now admits that we do not have evidence of that. God. So it's entirely possible that was a false flag. We know of the White House Chief of Staff showing the president ghastly photos of children who'd been gassed. It was a campaign. He's a father. He has a heart. And I think he ordered an action there that ended up having a greater political statement than ever really changing the complexion of what's happening in Syria.
Roger, I want to go back to something that's very important because you're an insider. I am not. I don't know Donald Trump for 40 years. I know that I backed him for a number of reasons, mainly because I thought, A, he was the only one who could beat Hillary, which is true. And I also felt that his positions were identical to mine on borders, language, and culture, to summarize them in 3 words. And so I worked around the clock to get him elected. Does he understand that there are those in the media who are now pretending to be his greatest bootlicking friends, that they attacked him for a year straight before he won? Does he remember that?
In some instances, he does. In other instances, he doesn't. I think he now broadens it because now, to him, that's who he's talking about when he says fake news. That said, when you consider the role of alternative media in his election, the Internet, this show, Alex Jones, InfoWars, Daily Caller, Breitbart, Town Hall, Gateway Pundit, Zero Hedge, all these terrific alternative, conservative, right-thinking sites, he never gives interviews to them. They don't have White House press credentials in most cases, yet he's giving his maiden interview as president to Leslie Stahl of CBS. Talk about yesterday.
Yeah. So look, Hope Hicks is gone, and she was a young person, maybe didn't have the skills that she needed for that job. Without knocking her, I mean, let's face it, who's doing the job now? Who's his communication director?
Donald Trump is his communications director. Donald Trump decides who's going to interview with and who he isn't. He really is a control freak when it comes to control of his image. He's his own writer. He's his own wordsmith. He is his own phrase maker. He dictated at the top of his lungs the copy for all of his television commercials. And, you know, he understands the public relations media cycle. He knows.
Roger, again, I want to reiterate to people who they should know more about you. You know Donald Trump for 40 years as his confidant and friend. Would you say you're still on his good side?
Oh, I think there's no doubt about it. We are very good friends, and I have been a loyal supporter of his administration. I think he's done some miraculous things. Economic growth at 3%, on the verge of a peace deal in Korea. But this is a mistake. The president has too high a institutional regard for the military. I think he gives them the benefit of honesty in their assessments. I don't think he understands the way our military was politicized under Barack Obama, where globalists and leftists in the ranks were promoted, and those known to have Republican or more conservative sympathies were retired.
Wow.
And unfortunately, our military, like our intelligence services, have become completely politicized. They're run by a political agenda.
Roger Stone, I want to bring up a name. I call him the Walrus out of a lack of affection for him as a human being. It seems to me that it was rather convenient that the Walrus started his job as National Security Advisor on that Monday, while just 2 days before there was a very convenient chemical attack that he used as a pretext to egg the president on to the missile strike. Do you know the Walrus at all?
I know John Bolton very well. I'm going to take a slightly different view of him than you. He's not a close friend of mine. I'm not claiming that he is. I met him when Ronald Reagan was president. He was a very key thinker in the whole peace through strength Reagan doctrine that was far different than the neocon interventionism that the Bushes then gave us. This is the Caspar Weinberger school of not getting entangled abroad. And the whole is based on the notion that if you're extraordinarily strong, people won't pick on you. It's only when you get weak that they start to be. Bolton then went to work for the Bushes. He's ruthlessly efficient, he's extraordinarily capable, and he's very smart. And now he's working for Donald Trump. I do not actually think he's an ideologue. I think he is an operative, a hitman, an executor. The Bushes said, hey, John, we need a phony Iraq war. See what you can go whip up, will you? And he did. So I would not presuppose that he is the orchestrator of this. He also has to know that given his Bush and neocon credentials, he's going to be watched very carefully. I also say this to you, Michael. How could anybody be worse than H.R. McMaster?
Well, Bolton is in there, and what worries me is that you said a few things right now that I'll remember a very long time. You triggered me when you said Bush, because I believe that the signaling we have gotten in the last number of days indicates that signals are being sent to the world and to the internal apparatus in this government and everywhere else that the Bushes are now running the country again.
I could not. In
some regard, especially with regard to foreign policy, it looked to me like, outside, Roger, again, you're the insider. I'm only an outsider who looks in from the outside. It looked to me like there was signaling saying the Bushes are now in control again.
That's a very, very astute observation. It explains the announcement of the pardoning of Scooter Libby. If the president pardoned a guy for spreading lies to get us into war, at the same time, the guys around him today are spreading lies in order to get us into war. It's extraordinary. And
yes, but we went to war in Iraq based on the false lie, or the false statement, or let's say fake evidence that there were weapons of mass destruction. And the same team that did that seems to have provided the president with photographs of a gas attack that may or may not actually have occurred, or if it did occur, we don't know who did it.
Remember this, that the president tweeted 10 days ago, I think it's time to start pulling our troops out of Syria.
Right.
That's when the deep state boys hit the panic button. Quick, you guys better hook up a gas attack. That worked last time. I mean, how?
Roger, why did they want us to stay in Syria? Is it, as I suspect, they want to divide Syria into at least four new states?
Look, on one hand, you have Assad financing Hezbollah, financing Hamas, propped up by the Russians. He's a bad guy. On the other side, you have ISIS and 1,000 other subsets of ISIS that are more fanatical than the original, propped up by the Saudis. By the way, they're not friends of ours either. Is it worth an American dollar or a drop of American blood? I don't see our inherent national interest here. I just don't see it.
Neither do I. You see, that's the issue. National interest. And Trump ran as a man of peace. I wrote about that in Trump's War, Mr. Stone. I said one of the reasons I backed him is he's going to get us out of foreign entanglements. She wanted to get us into them. He ran as a peace candidate, not as a war candidate. He ran as a non-interventionist. He ran as a nationalist. Those are the reasons I backed Mr. Trump. And yet I wake up and say, wait a minute, this is the opposite of what we all thought we were going to get. And yet on so many other levels, we're doing so great in this country. I mean, other than the constant drama brought about by the vermin in the media and by Mueller's relentless, heartless persecution of the president. When is that going to ever end?
This is a mistake to underestimate the deep enmity of the two-party duopoly that's run this country into the ground. The establishment of the Republican and Democratic parties have disdain, cultural disdain for Donald Trump, and because he's not of the political class. And they have deep resolve to remove him no matter what. I mean, it is outrageous that Michael Cohen is being is put under surveillance, and that they break into his locker, his office for records, and this is an act of the Trump Justice Department. The Trump Justice Department is investigating, everybody who works for Donald Trump. This makes no sense. Rosenstein has got his own legal culpability in Uranium One. Hard jail time, provable crime, quite easy, I think. I wrote a long piece about it for the Daily Caller, and make the case that Uranium One involves Mueller, Comey, McCabe, and Rosenstein. The four.
Let's take a pause. Can you stay with us another few minutes after the break and take calls from the listeners?
Be my honor.
Okay, listen, folks, we're talking to someone who knows what he's talking about. You hear a lot of commentary, but you don't know what to believe. I don't blame you. Roger Stone is a loyalist to President Trump. He's known him for 40 years. If you have a quick question, you could call me at 855-407-282, and maybe we'll get you up there. 855-400-7282 to speak with Michael Savage and Roger Stone. One shot, 800. No, that's not the number. What is my number? Who remembers all these numbers? 855-400-7282.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Gentlemen, sure you could have harsh treatments to look younger, but why on earth would you do that? Listen to Joanne from Connecticut. She says, my husband looks 10 years younger using Genucel. He saw results the first day he used it. I've also had remarkable results, can't be without it. Imagine the bags and puffiness under your eyes gone, and watch those sagging, droopy eyelids disappear. That's years off your appearance. Genucel by Chamonix is an easy choice. Genucel contains natural ingredients for incredible results safely and quickly. It's as simple as that. In fact, with immediate effects, you will see results like Joanne's in as little as 12 hours, or you get your money back guaranteed. And right now, perfect time, try Chamonix's brand new Genucel eyelid lift for droopy, sagging eyelids. You order Genucel today, and you get the brand new Genucel eyelid lift absolutely free. So go to Genucel.com. That's Genucel.com or 800-SKIN-891. 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 Call now. Express shipping also free. Go ahead. 800-SKIN-891. 800-SKIN-891. Or go to Genucel.com. That's Genucel.com. Hardship case? Maybe. Honest mistake? Maybe. It really doesn't matter to the IRS. They don't care. When you owe back taxes, forget about it. Or you haven't filed tax returns in a time, they're going to come for you. Like with Rhonda. It didn't matter that she's a single mom, a nurse living paycheck to paycheck. It didn't matter that the reason she owed thousands in back taxes to the IRS was that her ex said he'd file their tax returns. That didn't matter. He didn't. The IRS was aggressively pursuing her, garnishing her wages. They were destroying her. Rhonda was trapped in what she thought was a no-win situation. And if you think that this story about Rhonda is something you can relate to, I want you to call Optima Tax Relief. Optima knows that behind every tax problem are honest, hardworking people with families, homes, savings, and paychecks that need protection, which is how they've resolved over $500 million in tax debt for their clients and are A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau. Write it down. Call Optima Tax Relief at 800-731-2474. 800-731-2474. Once again, 800-731-2474. We go back to a man who's been a personal friend and advisor to President Trump for over 40 years, still totally supporting him and yet disagrees on the neocon-inspired missile strike in Syria. Roger Stone, welcome back to the Savage Nation.
Good to be here.
Well, I tell you, I'm flooded with calls, and I want to take one right now. Pete on WDRC. Pete, fire away, make it quick. No, see, I love this. It's like quick on the draw, and the other one already went to sleep. KLIF, Stacy, line 2. Go ahead, you're on the Savage Nation.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. question is why Mr. Stone thinks this country continues to have this incestuous relationship with Saudi Arabia.
All right, Mr. Stone, any answer to that?
Yes. Look, I worked in Washington as a lobbyist in the Bush years. The Saudis have a deep understanding of the American political system, and they have vast sums of money to grease palms with. Whether it's charitable, whether it's tax-free, whether it's business investment.
Well, no, we understand how they get the access, but I think the lady is asking something different, and I think you got that as well, which is, are they really our friends, and are they to be trusted?
No, absolutely not. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. Look, they finance Wahhabism, the most virulent and violent sect of Islam, and then at the same time they tell us that they're people of peace.
Yeah. And then they hang their friends upside down in the Four Seasons Hotel and beat them around the ankles, and then they steal their money. Great people. Roger Stone, I want to thank you for joining us on the Savage Nation. If you have the fortitude and desire to take additional calls, we can call you back after the top of the hour. The rest of you be here because we're going to talk about Gorsuch, Supreme Liberal, San Francisco horror stories, and how Trump made a mistake in Syria.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
And the lines are flooded with questions, which I'm afraid to tell you I have to answer because Mr. Stone had a prior engagement. If this is a spontaneous show, it's not that planned. You know what I'm saying? It's not prepackaged in the sense that we know how long someone's going to be. But I will take your calls, and I'm going to read you an article I just saw in the Daily Mail. It's very worrisome. They says, Trump's camp fears that their attorney Cohen could flip on the president and reveal his worst secrets, and that Cohen is a bigger threat than Mueller. I don't like this article. Other lawyers say they've seen faithful lieutenants flip on bosses when facing decades in prison. I mean, you think of Sammy the Bull. I'm not comparing it for that reason. Who would have ever thought that he would have flipped? People do anything to save their own behind, right? So we don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know. You know, we got to see what happens. I'll take your calls, though. Let's take the calls. KBET, Walter, line 5. What would your question have been for Roger Stone?
Hi, Mr. Savage. I wanted to ask Roger Stone how he sees the situation if Donald Trump gets impeached and what we can do to prevent this from happening.
Okay, I'll take that off the air. Mr. Stone, oh, he's not here. Can't answer that one. I don't think we can do anything to stop it from happening right now. But let's talk about it amongst ourselves. I have heard from people who are on the inside that the missile strike, as minimal as it was, without any follow-up, which the neocons all wanted, the bloodthirsty neocons in the media want more war. The bloodthirsty fools want more war, not less war. The bloodthirsty fools say he doesn't need Congress to approve it, which is astonishing. Because if Obama had thrown a baseball at a foreign country, these very same liars would have said he would have needed congressional approval. Now they're saying Trump needs no approval. It's unbelievable. The hypocrisy. You know, I may be a flawed man, but I'm not a hypocrite. I'll tell you that right now. Don't ever accuse me of that. And if I point out the hypocrisy in the media, especially on the conservative side, which I know more about than the liberal side, don't curse me for telling you the truth. So I don't know what's going to happen with Cohen. I never met the man. And I don't know what he may have that anyone needs to know. So we don't know what's going to happen. But you're asking what you as a listener could do. So I was told that Mr. Trump launched those missiles to placate McCain and Lindsey Graham, two of the biggest pinko warmongers in the history of the American Congress. Remember, these pinkos have been salivating for war for years now. Lindsey Graham, John McCain. The pinkos want war. So Trump gave them a piece of what they wanted by launching the missiles but not getting further engaged in Syria. And why did he do it? He did it in a way, I am told, or I understand, to placate Graham and McCain. Should there be an impeachment vote, he wants them on his side. If he had asked me, you know what I would have said? They're never going to back you. They'll stab you in the back anyway. They're untrustworthy. So you're asking what you can do. If that day comes, I will work as hard as I can, as hard as I did to get him elected, to encourage you to have your representative vote against impeachment. That's all I can do. So that's all you can do is lobby through your emails and your calls to your congressman when that day comes to not permit that to happen. That's as simple as that. What else can we do? We have a participatory democracy that occurs every few years. Then we're treated like serfs, like we don't exist. Then when they need us, they come back to us every couple of years and make believe we matter. And so we do matter at a certain point, but that point has not yet arrived. KBOI, Boise, Idaho. Robin on line 7. Nice to hear from you. What's on your mind, Robin? Another one dead in the water. That's 2 in a row now. All right, it happens. Talk radio people called and they hang up. Adam, WABC, New York City, line 3. Fire away.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for taking my call. My question is, are you not concerned about the Iranian land bridge to the Mediterranean, and any military strike in Syria should not be targeted at Assad specifically, but at Iranian bases, which they are building?
Oh, actually, you made a complete statement without, by posing it as a question. It's an interesting statement. So you're saying we should attack Iranian positions in Syria, not Assad's troop positions?
Correct. Would you agree with that?
Me or Roger Stone, who's not here?
Well, I'm talking.
I'm glad you get the joke. Elvis has left the theater. How big? How are they really? I mean, how heavily involved are they?
The Iranians.
Yeah.
Significantly involved. As a matter of fact, I even read an article in which it says that they may even be continuing their nuclear production in Syria, because that would not fall under the agreement made with Obama. They can't do anything with their nuclear program in Iran, but in Syria they could. So the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, is all over Syria.
I assume that you're concerned about this primarily for the safety of Israel. Is that correct?
I'm a huge supporter of Israel, yes. But I wouldn't say it's specifically for the safety of Israel. I think it's totally a danger to America and the Western world because of what Iran is trying to do to the Middle East. They're also in Yemen. They could control all the oil passageways. What would it be?
Well, I hear you, and I back Israel because of a number of reasons, most notably because they're the only true democracy in the Middle East, and the surrounding Sunni Muslims, strangely enough, are now Israel's best friend, as you know. We're talking in generalities now. Saudi Arabia, primarily Sunni Muslim. Iran, primarily Shia Muslim, correct? Do we agree so far?
Yes.
Okay. So the answer to this question is not for the U.S. to get directly involved, but to let Israel and their new allies, the newfound allies, which would be obviously Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and even Egypt, which all have interestingly important military might, to join them in any kind of a defensive move against Iran. Does that answer your question in part?
It does. The only thing I'm concerned
I don't see why American blood has to be shed again.
Well,
I am an America firster, which means no more foreign wars. But that doesn't mean we can't supply weapons, intelligence, advice to the Saudis. Do the Israelis really need it? Maybe they can give us advice. The Jordanians, the Egyptians, if they want to stop the Shia war against the other forces in the Middle East, I think it's their business to do so. That's the only answer I can give you. I don't have another answer. Now this becomes a tribal war going back 1,000 years, and I don't know what the heck we're doing there, by the way. 855-407. Look at the great callers I'm getting. I'm going to read them to you because I got to take a break in a minute. And all the other questions are still up there, by the way. There's new news. There's old news. Sean Hannity named as Cohen's third client. I know you don't think it's a big deal. My fear is it will become a very big deal very soon. And your heart's going to drop. Because personally, I don't understand why he would go to Cohen for real estate advice. I mean, maybe Cohen is a real estate expert. I really don't know. Could be he needed some real estate advice. So maybe Cohen's good at that too. But as far as I know, lawyers are experts in certain things. And one of the areas of expertise of Cohen, I don't know, is in real estate. Had I only known, I might have consulted him when I bought my condominium. I don't know. Why would we need Cohen on that? You know, let's say a problem with the Motor Vehicle Bureau. Would I call Cohen? Would I call a lawyer? What if I had an immigration problem? Would I go to Cohen? It's not a general practitioner. So I don't know. I wouldn't go to him for that. When I come back, but look if they call it. How long before they finally bring him down? Worried. Syrian attack was some outside country to egg us on. How's the president's prayer life? Why wouldn't Trump just pardon Cohen? Why won't anyone blame Israel? How can we redirect Trump back to us, his voting base? How close is Trump to John Kelly? What is Sessions' status? I cannot answer any of these questions, but I'll be glad to let you ask the question because you already have the answer in the question you're asking in the way you pose it on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Do you have trouble sleeping like most people do? I'm here to change your sleeping patterns forever. I myself have never slept better since I started using MyPillow. I would toss and turn all night and never feel fully rested, but that's all changed once I discovered MyPillow the way I like it. MyPillow uses a patented technology that morphs perfectly to the type of sleeper you are. You create the pillow that's right for you, right on their own website. It's amazing, and of course it's all manufactured right here in the United States and comes with a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and the best part is you get a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. I want you to go to MyPillow.com or call 800-768-0898, promo code SAVAGE. Take advantage of my special 4-pack deal. Buy 2 premium MyPillows, and you're going to get 2 Go Anywhere pillows for free. Rush to MyPillow.com or call 800-768-0898, promo code SAVAGE, to take advantage of my special 4-pack deal. It seems to be warning you about a potential stock market collapse. What if it never comes? What if betting against the market is a bad idea? Truth is, our nation appears to be getting stronger by the day, not weaker. And so what if the market makes a big correction? It always recovers, right? Well, this topic is covered in a very special report from Swiss America. It's called the Crashless Society. In this remarkable free report, you'll discover how to connect the dots and find out about the hidden pluses and minuses of today's rising economic optimism. Get it for free. All you got to do is call 800-289-2646. Are you worried about your retirement account? Stop worrying. Start planning for the best years of your life. Thanks to the Crashless Society, yours free right now by calling 800-289-2646. Write it down. And remember, even during a big correction, some people seem to do very well. You know how they do it? Call 800-289-2646. Maybe it could be you. Discover how. Get the Crashless Society for free. Call it 800-289-2646. She is the lowest of the female of species. Not for the sex, but think about it. When did a woman who acts in dirty movies suddenly become an adult film star? How did the language get like that? Answer: interlocking corporate directorships. The same Molochs who own the movie business, who own the strip clubs, through front companies, own the news business. They probably own the encyclopedias and the dictionaries now. You know, there's actually good news out there. North and South Korea reportedly set to announce official end to war. That's a good thing. Someone will find something wrong with it. They'll say the liberals did it. The others will say the conservatives did it. Maybe they'll have a peace treaty. Wouldn't that be wonderful? They could start making televisions in the North and people could eat something other than straw. And they could all share dog recipes after that happens. Madeleine Albright could go over there and teach them how to make dog brisket and celebrated a wedding for 35,000 people while people are starving in the streets. FBI insider is furious after Comey interview. Self-centered, self-serving jackass. Not a big deal to me. This I don't like, the following story. Trump wanted to bomb Russian and Iranian targets amid Syria strikes. A report says, I don't like that one at all. He did it? I don't trust that news. What's the source of this news? Oh, it came from RT. No, that's propaganda. That's false news. No. I don't believe that Russia and Iranian targets were something Trump wanted. I would think that would be the walrus. And I think the walrus would want a wider war. And all those in the radio business who never fought anywhere, they want war. It's good for ratings, good to sell products. Okay, so let's go back now. What's the new term for permanent occupation in Syria? The new word is McCain and Graham. Lindsey McCain won permanent occupation. 855-407. Can we move on to another topic? I'm not interested in this at all. I'm not interested. I want to go back to San Francisco and New York horror stories from bums in the gutter. Clean up San Francisco streets, tourist industry pleads. I started that in hour one because I was the one who led this charge for years now. Not because I hate San Francisco, but because I love it. That's why I stay here. I have other houses in other cities. I don't go to them. I've come to the conclusion I only feel good here. But I will tell you, the quality of life has gotten so bad, I'm very reluctant to go over the bridge from another location because the human feces, I cannot stand that. It's only a matter of time until there is an epidemic that breaks out in San Francisco, whether it be typhus or something worse. Something's going to break out in San Francisco from permitting these human... I can't use the word. This is an epidemic about to break out in the city from the so-called tolerance of progressives who will ruin the city. Now that the tourist industry is finally speaking out about it because people are not coming back to the city, they won't come back. They're being not panhandled, but aggressively attacked. Cars broken into. The filth, the bums, the mooks, the rats, the mooks, the bums, the filth. It's so bad. Ask anyone who lives here. Even liberals have come to me and whispered, "You're right, Savage. You're the only one saying about people injecting themselves with drugs in broad daylight, leaving dirty needles, garbage on the sidewalks, tent camps, human feces, the bums threatening us." You can't go to your own house in the city without a bum threatening your life. Even liberals are saying that. And this used to be a beautiful city. Hotel owners are freaking out now. Hotel council, representing 110 hotels, saying, people are saying, "I love your city, I love your restaurants, but I'll never come back." Why? The bums are out of control. It's like an army of bums. Something like 17,000 cars were reportedly broken into last year. I said 17,000 were reported. You know, I have a friend who lives across from the Art Institute on a beautiful winding street, Chestnut Street. It's like a block away from the crookedest street in town, Lombard. So he lives there for years in a beautiful place across from the Art Institute. So I went to visit him over the weekend. So as I was parking in the street, he said, no, you better leave. Luckily, I had a driver. He said, "Tell your driver to stay with the car because your window will be broken into within 3 minutes of you leaving your car." I said, "Where? I don't see any bums around." He said, "They cruise the streets in cars, and they jump out with crowbars, break your window, and steal anything in the car." I said, "Where are the cops?" He said, "They've tried their best, but they can't do anything. It's an epidemic now. They come from out of the neighborhood. There are whole teams of them in cars. They're breaking windows and stealing everything in the car." Now, what kind of civility is that? In order to have a civil society, you need civility. But when you have armed gangs running around, breaking into cars, you have armies of bums shooting up drugs, crapping in the streets, that is no longer a civil society. And people have had enough. Now, it's only a matter of time until not only the hotel and tourism industry suffers, but housing prices collapse altogether. There's only so long that Mark Zuckerberg and Google can support the housing market. At some point, this is going to collapse. And so once that happens, then maybe people will finally speak out. KSFO, David, line 1, you've got 29 seconds. Tell us your horror story.
Hi, very quickly, Michael. I've been coming here to San Francisco since 1999, but I've been living in Chicago and New York and Paris. And I cannot believe that in all the years that I have been coming back, each and every year, there's a little outcropping right on the State of California building that is adjacent to the City Hall.
Correct. The bums are out of control because of progressivism, liberalism, and ultra-tolerance, which is destroying the economy of the city. I'm sure she'll be going over there for endless parties with Kim Jong mentally ill. And so I dedicate this song to her. I understand that car manufacturers are considering making cars with double windows for San Francisco because if you come to the city, you will find a puddle of glass next to your car within 3 minutes of parking it somewhere, and so they're going to make a double window. 31,000 cars were reportedly broken into in 2017, and those are just the break-ins reported to police. 31,000 who were arrested for doing it. Next to zero, less than 2% of the crimes were resulted in an arrest. 31,000 cars broken into in San Francisco. That's reported. Never mind the people who didn't report it. And yet the liberals say, oh, well, I'm tolerant. I don't want to become one of those right-wing, you know what. They don't want to be right-wing. So they will have their cars broken into, slipping on human feces. That's the city I live in. And I still love it. And it's beautiful. You just got to be very careful. Well, I want to play some sound for you. The frustrations of San Francisco or New York or any other city infested by the polarization of the left is unbelievable to me, how people put up with it. And they're ashamed to admit that they elected the wrong person. They won't admit it. Now, we have to blame people for this attitude of progressivism. It would be Hillary, Pelosi, people like that are the reason that you have this kind of ultra-tolerance, and it's done so that the leftist activists do not point out their crimes. Here is a wonderful lady who I don't like to ridicule because I never pick on the handicapped. But, there's a certain point at which you have to say please for her own sake. Here is Nancy Pelosi babbling incoherently about Pope Benedict in clip 14.
I'll talk about Pope Benedict. In Pope Benedict's first encyclical called God is Love, he quotes his favorite saint, St. Augustine. And in God is Love, the encyclical, he quotes Augustine as saying, 17 centuries ago, 1,700 years ago, St. Augustine said, any government that does not exist to promote justice is just a bunch of thieves.
That's right.
17 centuries ago.
Sounds like she was on Benedictine rather than on Benedict. So she's interested in justice and not thievery or criminality. Tell that to the black activists who are trying to get her indicted for some shenanigans to do with the Treasure Island and the $1 billion that disappeared for the cleanup. Why is it that those who have this cloud over them are always obsessed with thievery and justice? Go figure it out. Now, here's Hillary, as you well know, another sterling individual with absolutely nothing to soil her reputation around her, in clip 12, saying that Trump's White House is promoting racism and white supremacy. Now, how can any white person... Don't cut me off. How can any white person vote for someone who is a white person who continues to harp on the white racism thing? Listen to 12.
Maybe I don't need to say this because it's pretty obvious. We are living in challenging times. We're living through a war on truth, facts, and reason.
Oh, boy.
Watching as racist and white supremacist views are lifted up in the media and in the White House. But despite it all, there are signs of hope and resilience. And much of that is being led and shaped by black women, like my dear friend Maxine Waters.
Notice she shifts into a different cadence. Every time she says the word black, a part of her brain gets triggered. That one? She goes down that road again. Maxine Waters is now held up as a role model for Hillary Clinton? Wow. Again, ladies and gentlemen of Savage Nation, I ask you to investigate the history of Maxine Waters when she chaired a committee that was in charge of dispensing federal money, meaning tax money, to minority banks, one of which was owned by her husband. And the last I checked, and maybe it's been paid back, $12 million of your money was given to that bank and never paid back. But okay, hey, you can believe what you want. In clip 13, Pelosi says there will be tax hikes the day that she comes back, that the Democrats come back, God forbid. Now, what I want to ask you is this. She's one of the richest women in America, which means she's one of the richest women in the world. Why is she constantly harping and making believe she's one of the poor? Listen to 13 again.
We need a new Congress.
Putting a dark cloud over over a dark cloud over this Capitol, over our budget. What we need is the American people to know. Yes. And that is what you are doing, a drumbeat across America to say, this is not about our values. A budget is supposed to be a statement of our national values. What is important to us as a nation should be how we invest in our children's future, in the retirement of our seniors, in the air that our kids breathe, in the opportunities in the economy and the rest. Be fair. Fairness. That's not what this budget is. It's a shame. It's wrong.
Okay, it's enough already.
It's wrong.
Please, the moisture coming out of the moil is enough already. I can't take it. She's literally drooling on herself. Fair, minorities. All right, you heard it all. Southwest passenger dead after midair engine explosion. You heard the passenger almost got sucked out of the jet. That's terrible. Trump's trade representative spends $1 million on new furniture and blames Obama. That's really fair. That's tremendous. That's just great. Terrific. Passenger on Southwest flight told loved ones goodbye. What's this with Southwest now? I like that airline. I've been on, never had a problem on it. Even peanuts, they serve peanuts again. I once went on a Southwest jet a number of years ago with a friend of mine. He's a very irascible older man. And he asked for peanuts. And then the steward said, we are not, because there's a passenger on the plane who was allergic to peanuts, no one is getting peanuts. Well, he's a very outspoken older gentleman. He jumped up and started to scream, I want my peanuts! I don't give a damn about anyone's allergy. I want peanuts on the plane. They did not strap him to the chair, but he did not get his peanuts. But they're serving peanuts again. And I don't understand how how does an engine explode with the amount of investigations and certifications, that go on? How did the engine explode in midair, causing shrapnel to shatter the jet's window and the cabin to depressurize? That's horrible. An hour after it left LaGuardia, bound for Dallas, as the plane was near Philly. That's not funny. Korea is expected to announce end of 68-year war. Wouldn't that be nice? That's some good news out there. And maybe Trump got him to the bargaining table with the threats. Who knows? They say that North Korean madman Kim Jong mentally ill and South Korean President Moon Jae-in may release a joint statement saying they will seek to end military conflict. An unidentified Seoul official told the Mukhailbo newspaper. The two men are scheduled to meet April 27th in the border village of Panmunjom, the third ever summit of leaders from the two Koreas. I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know. It sounds like a rumor to me. This is an odd story. It doesn't really belong on the show. But it's about a granny marrying a teenager she scored at Chuck E. Cheese. I know it's stupid. But there's a guy who's 19 years old who's dating a 72-year-old woman. And they met at a Chuck E. Cheese pizza party. He has a thing for older women. Okay, I mean older. I mean real older. I mean like grandmothers. 19-year-old Gary Hardwick is 53 years younger than the love of his life, 72-year-old. And so they showed them in the park, and of course in England, they're all crazy altogether. But there they go down in the park. She's limping along, and this guy's young. He's in good shape. And they're now a Tennessee couple, and they claim it was love at first sight. And there they are making something in their ugly little kitchen. Look at the garbage they're eating. White bread with... Ugh. But anyway, how does this work? Granny marries teen she met at Chuck E. Cheese? Well, love is a many splendid thing. I understand that. And I guess when love comes in, you got to jump that train. You don't think it has anything to do with money, do you? You don't think that this 19-year-old bum married her just for her money? No. She says the first time we made love, I don't want to read that. It's a family show. He says it was a deep connection. Yeah, right. I wonder who her lawyer is. Could it be Cohen? No. Does he handle matrimonial affairs as well on the side? He says he's mature for his age. He doesn't fit into the young age bracket at all. I don't know if he works at all, but I know that he likes older women for sure. No comment on that. What a group of losers. God, take a look at the families. God, it makes the Palins look like... I mean, sorry, I didn't say that. Look like saints. You could see I'm rambling along here. I'm not going to get too involved in this stuff. Let's see. Gun grab. Nah. D.C. considers allowing 16-year-olds to vote. Why not 12-year-olds? They know what they're doing. They're smart enough to have sex now and show their bodies on Instagram. So why not vote? If you could show yourself naked at 12 on Instagram, why not? What else is it? I went to the dentist yesterday. I'm still sick from it. What can you do? He went under the gum without anesthesia. You talk about torture, the scraping and the grinding. And the restaurant I used to go to right after dental work went out of business, the P.F. Chang's. I used to go down there for a vodka, immediately gone. He scraped and he drilled and he pulled and he chipped. It was like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro down there. So I'm going to do crazy things. I'm not interested in the world's events right now. I'm so tired of the drama from the whole political world. What do you want me to talk about? Tell me what you want me to talk about. I'm not interested in Gorsuch, supreme liberal. Stone saying Trump made a mistake in Syria. I've covered it. Cleaning up San Francisco streets, tourist industry pleads. Flashback May 2017, Savage warns about Gorsuch. It's all on michaelsavage.com. Sean Hannity's idea of attorney-client privilege was right out of Breaking Bad, says the Washington Post. Senator Lindsey Graham, Trump's Syria strikes well short of what I would have liked. Warmonger. You know, there's something so touching on my website. Baby gorilla Moki, born at National Zoo in Washington. If you watch this and are not touched by it, you're an animal. Something's wrong with you. This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's a mama gorilla at the National Zoo. Maybe I'll go there when I'm in Washington next week. You should see the mother kissing that baby. Anyone who slaughters animals like this should be drawn and quartered in public. Anyone who hurts an animal like this or an elephant, they should take him out in public and pull him apart in 4 quarters. That's all. Look at this. Look at this gorilla loving its baby. It's nicer than most human mothers in this country today. You look at them. You take a look at the garbage you see on social media. Every minute stripping down naked with an emaciated body like out of a concentration camp. What is this about? Here is a gorilla loving its baby, not throwing it into an incinerator. It didn't abort its baby. The gorilla has better instincts than most women in the United States of America, young ones today. That's how I see it. If you watch this, okay, I've told you what I think. Kalea, 15, gave birth to Moki in front of staff at the Smithsonian's National Zoo at 6:25 p.m. Sunday night. A birth that staff said it literally brought them to tears. It's so beautiful to see the instincts of a lowland mountain gorilla and see that they're better than most young people in America today. Well, I've run into the hard break that is known as the time slot I am in. When I come back, I will give you all the news, views, and reviews that you're not used to anywhere else on the Savage Nation.
I don't feel no ways tired.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. You know, I love bed. Let me tell you, so I'm still living it. Falling into bed has taken on a whole new meaning ever since I started sleeping on my delicious, delightful Casper mattress. Their engineers have created an exceptionally comfortable sleep experience. You get one and you'll understand why it's the internet's favorite mattress. Casper has created 3 unique mattresses to help you sleep cool and comfortable around the year. The Wave is engineered to relieve pressure at 36 different points. The Casper mattress is more breathable and comfortable than ever. And the Essential mattress is innovation at a great price point. All of them designed to coddle and comfort your every move. And they all provide the perfect support for every position you sleep in. So find out why Casper has hundreds of thousands of happy customers like me. Try your Casper mattress for 100 nights in your own home. You heard me. 100 nights in your own home with free shipping and returns. You can't beat that. You go to Casper.com, you use code SAVAGE, and you're going to save $50 on the purchase of select mattresses. You heard me right. That's Casper.com, code SAVAGE to save $50. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. I'm here to change your sleeping patterns forever. I myself have never slept better since I started using MyPillow. I would toss and turn all night and never feel fully rested, but that's all changed once I discovered MyPillow the way I like it. MyPillow uses a patented technology that morphs perfectly to the type of sleeper you are. You create the pillow that's right for you, right on their own website. It's amazing, and of course it's all manufactured right here in the United States and comes with a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry MyPillow, and the best part is you get a 60-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose. I want you to go to MyPillow.com, or call 800-768-0898, promo code SAVAGE. Take advantage of my special 4-pack deal. Buy 2 premium MyPillows, and you're going to get 2 Go Anywhere pillows for free. Rush to MyPillow.com or call 800-768-0898, promo code SAVAGE, to take advantage of my special 4-pack deal. Have you heard about nitric oxide? Come on, man, listen to me. Nitric oxide is one of the most important molecules in your body. Why? It promotes healthy circulation, which brings oxygen and nutrients throughout your body and helps support healthy blood pressure. And you can help your body produce nitric oxide quite naturally by drinking Super Beets. And remember, only Super Beets is made from beets grown to exacting standards. I don't like to eat beets, but I like what beets do to you, right? The nutrients are concentrated in a way that makes them usable to the body to create nitric oxide safely and naturally. If you want to increase your body's nitric oxide levels, go to 800-481-0504 or SavageLovesBeets.com. With your first order, you're going to get another free 30-day supply, and you're going to get indicator strips to see how the Super Beets actually works in your body, and free shipping. So call 800-481-0504 or SavageLovesBeets.com today. 855-407-2882. Any topic is fair game. Whether it's New York City's homeless bums, the San Francisco homeless crisis, why the city politicians continue to let this fester, why Hillary or Pelosi in this case keeps babbling on about the poor and won't do anything about the bums. What kind of money is being made off the bums is the question. Billions of dollars a year in every city. They put them up in hotels owned by who? They provide services owned by whose front companies? Do you understand that there's money involved, big money? Roger, KSFO, line 1, 30 seconds or less. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hello, Michael. You know, you and I both love San Francisco. The difference is I live here. Now,
wait, before you go on with your slimy left-wing red talk, I own an apartment in the city as well, so now continue.
But I live here. The point I'm trying to make...
I don't care what you live there. I have an apartment in the city where I live. So what do you mean you live there and I don't? Right away, you're better than me because you live there?
I'm not...
Where do you live? On Pacific Heights next to Pelosi so you don't see the bums?
I live in the Sunset. But what I wanted to make a point...
in the Sunset, so that's a clean middle-class neighborhood. There are no bums out there. My apartment is in the downtown. It's full of bums.
I thought you lived across the bay.
Well, you thought certain things that aren't true. You don't know where I live.
Well, you said you live in Marin, but nevertheless.
Irrespective of where I live, what is the point of your call, Roger Red?
Roger Red. The point I'm trying to make is San Francisco is not as bad as you're paying it.
Okay, hold on. Let's deal with some statistics. How many cars were broken into last year?
Many cars were broken into last year.
No, many means nothing. How many cars exactly were broken into last year?
Why don't you let me talk, Michael?
Well, because you're glossing over inconvenient truths.
So, no, let me give you
27,000 cars were reported to have been broken into last year by the police department. That's 27,000, Roger. That's the number of people who reported them broken into. So how can you say that it's not as bad as people say?
There's been a 17% drop in car break-ins in this past...
Roger, 27,000 is a very big number, and that's the number reported, Roger. As typical, you've got your head not in the sand but somewhere else, Roger, but it's a family show.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
So I have to start with Nancy Pelosi and bring it back to the homeless on her own doorstep. Not her doorstep, of course, meaning the city below the hill that she and Feinstein live on, and all the other fine people of the city. In the following soundbite, you will hear Nancy Pelosi saying that we have to have our values restored and how we invest in our children's future and seniors and the air that they breathe. And we have to be fair and kindness, and that, of course, Trump is evil, Republicans are worse. Well, play it for a minute. Clip 13. Let's just play it for a second.
Play a dark cloud over a dark cloud over this Capitol, over our budget. What we need is the American people to know And that is what you are doing, a drumbeat across America to say, this is not about our values. A budget is supposed to be a statement of our national values. What is important to us as a nation should be how we invest in our children's future, in the retirement of our seniors.
Values. Right. Yeah, right. Children. All right. I would say the environment is important. I've worked in that area most of my adult life. I would say that you start with cleaning up human feces in the streets of San Francisco. There'll be hypodermic needles that we use for injecting heroin and other drugs, I would say, is part of the environment. And I would think that if she's so concerned about the environment, she ought to clean up those things. But you have to ask yourself, why do the billionaire liberals like Pelosi and Feinstein and others, whatever the city may be, Schumer in New York, for example, why do they ignore the bums in the streets, the car break-ins, the human this, the human that? Why? And I'm asking you to make a testament on this program right now from whatever city you're in about a homeless so-called horror story. I've had enough. I can't take it anymore. No civil society would permit this. It's worse in this city of San Francisco than perhaps any city on planet Earth. The lifestyle has degenerated and devolved to that below that of gorillas. Gorillas have better values. A lowlands mountain gorilla has better values and is cleaner than most of the bums in the streets of San Francisco. And I'm sick of it. And now suddenly the chief guy in charge of the tourist industry is speaking out. Does he really mean it? Look, I could talk about Gorsuch being a supreme liberal. I could say Trump made a mistake in Syria, which I've done. I don't have to beat it up again. You know, go to my website and you'll see what we talked about. So I'll go instead to the callers. KSFO. Sam, line 1, you're on the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Mike. I just wanted to say that I live in San Francisco, too, or I recently lived in San Francisco in the Bayview, and that guy from the Sunset has no idea what he's talking about. San Francisco is beyond belief. It's not just the streets, the Muni, the bus, BART. It's just everything is horrible. And not only car break-ins, but bike theft is astronomical. You leave your bike locked up like Fort Knox, your seat's going to be gone, your handlebar bars are going to be gone in 5 minutes. No one's doing anything about it. And I think the quality of people that San Francisco brings in, they just exacerbate the problem. And some of them even partake in it. I see people getting off the BART and, you know, they're dressed up like they work for a VC firm, and they go and they urinate right in a tree in the Mission.
What, we're wearing like a suit and tie? They're urinating in a subway?
Yeah, I think.
They get off a BART train looking like they're going to work in a regular business outfit and urinate in the street?
Yeah, in the evening. They get off a BART right on a tree. I've seen it multiple times.
Oh, well, on a tree. Look how civilized that is. Well, at least they're using a tree when you think about that. I mean, that's a step up from the escalator.
The degradation of Western civilization.
Well, no, not to a progressive. That's not degradation. That's kind of natural. That's getting down with the people. That's a natural thing to do, to urinate on a tree. Isn't that what they do isn't that what they're doing at Coachella right now?
The Sierra Club.
Oh, it's like Coachella on Mission Street. All right, I'm just being facetious, but I understand. What are we going to do about it when we have people who are tone deaf like Nancy Pelosi? And the question is, how much money are they all making off the bum problem? You see, it's always the money. Always follow the money. And you'll see it goes across both aisles. When I learned 2 years ago when I was writing, I think it was Trump's War, that none other than the Koch brothers, I always mispronounce the name, K-O-C-H, is like another word like Qatar, which I never pronounce correctly. I still don't know how to pronounce Q-A-T-A-R, gutter, guitar, Cutter. I've heard it a million ways. Like the Koch brothers. You don't know what to say. Koch brothers, Koch brothers. You know, it's a tough name to pronounce, but they're the billionaire so-called conservatives. The Koch brothers, K-O-C-H. They own a company that provides housing for illegal aliens. They're in favor of open borders. So who are you going to believe when it comes down to it? And how do we take back our society from the criminals who are running it is the real question. I don't have an answer. I mean, I know what I would do if I was the czar of the bums. I know exactly what I would do. I've said it on the show before. I don't want to offend anybody because it makes common sense to me. These people are obviously unwilling or unable to take care of themselves. Do we agree on that? Yes. The city spends several $100 million a year on, quote, homeless services, and it's gotten worse. We agree that it's a waste of money. It's only attracting more of society's degraded. We agree on that. So therefore, whatever's been done, money, whatever, it's not working. So you have to crack down on the bums. How do you crack down on bums without becoming inhumane? You've got to build barracks 100 miles outside of the cities on land that's very cheap. You've got to forcibly remove them to these barracks. You've got to give them very strict rules, and then you've got to help force them, certainly not to use drugs, not to be drunks, and you've got to force them to grow their own food in the right season, gather their own food, grow their own vegetables. Now, how could that be considered inhumane when most people do that on Earth in areas where there's no welfare society? And then if they don't comply, you take them to the next step, which is not as nice for them. And you have to build some facilities for them along the lines of mental hospitals, which used to exist in America until Jerry Brown's father came along, Governor Edmund G. Pat Brown, and he bought the progressive lie that mental hospitals were inhumane and that they were going to let them free of the mental hospitals and let them be housed in community, whatever they call them, community centers. Well, look how that's worked out. The streets are, in essence, mental hospitals. So where does it leave the taxpayer who's going to work every day, the woman? Let's take the young woman who gets off a muni bus or a subway car and has to walk through bums who are threatening her, who are urinating in the street, exhibiting themselves, defecating in the street, carrying a mattress in the street. What do you do for that young working woman or that young working man? What do you want them to do? You want them to put up with this forever while you live on Pacific Heights, spouting your big lies about progress and values and breathing clean air? You don't know how bad the city is unless you love it as much as I do. And it takes someone who loves this city to actually talk about it, as I have been doing for years now on this radio show, which emanates from San Francisco. It is the most popular talk radio show in San Francisco, but you wouldn't know it because I am never mentioned. I'm the unknown, as I am on Fox News. So in that sense, a progressive city and Fox News are about the same. Anyone who's an independent and cannot be controlled by the bosses is a persona non grata. Keith, did I have Keith on yet? I don't even know if I talked to him. Richard on KSFO line 2. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hello, Dr. Savage. Hey, just to recount a little bit of a story, my daughter went out to San Francisco to visit her boyfriend who's in the Coast Guard and was out there a couple of days, and she witnessed some of what you're talking about. They were eating in an Indian restaurant, and sure enough, a lady came in, started yelling at everybody, homeless lady. Some folks were just getting their food, and she decided to go over and start eating their food. And by the time they called the police, they had then finally pushed her out the door, but nothing was ever done.
She ate their food because what? What was her screaming about? That what? It was privilege. It was privilege to eat food that you pay for.
I guess, or she wanted money, but she just decided to help herself.
Oh, well, instead of begging, you go right to the source, just get the money, then rip the clothing off the girl next and say it's your clothing. Why not? Well, that's better than shopping, isn't it? Just tear it off a girl's back. Then Nancy Pelosi can say that we failed that poor woman somehow. All right, thanks for that nice horror story. I love it. Now let's go to Petersburg, Virginia. If you think it's limited to this progressive insane asylum. Mike on WNTW in Virginia, what's your homeless horror story?
Hey, Dr. Savage, we had an issue here where we used to have several fast food restaurants in town that basically all had to shut down because you either got accosted by the panhandlers when you got to the drive-thru, or they took up residence in the restaurant, would buy nothing, and there was no place for the patrons to sit.
Well, you see that's what's going on now, is that the restaurants are caught between the proverbial rock and hard place. If someone comes in and doesn't buy anything and they ask them to leave, they're going to get sued. So this is a product of the legal system that we have, which is also broken down as a result of there being no policing whatsoever of people with law degrees. There are too many lawyers who look for too many lawsuits based on nothing. Okay, I got all the callers, Online, Michael, line 8. What's your horror story? Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes.
I was in San Francisco this last summer. Went out to get some Gatorades for my kids, and saw this child that was probably the same age as my daughter with a heroin needle in her. And
that's heartbreaking.
And I asked her, I go, "What are you doing?" And it was ridiculous. But
what do you? How old is the child? Was the child 15, 16?
Yes. Yeah. And
well, I would think that to Pelosi, that's a lifestyle choice, and you don't really want to crack down on people's life.
No.
They don't call them junkies here; they call them injection drug users. Did you know that?
No. And
did you know that they call junkies injection drug users? Wait, it gets even worse. And they give out needles to junkies, claiming it reduces disease, reduces the epidemic of hepatitis, which is the exact opposite of the truth. It encourages people to shoot up. So this is the reason there are hypodermic needles thrown all over the city, which if you step on, by the way, or God forbid touch, you can wind up with a disease like HIV or HIV. That's the city you're living in. That's the city you're living in, and it's all because you said that anyone who tries to straighten this out is a Nazi, a right-winger, a mean person, whatever you want to say. Only Red Roger thinks it's a wonderful place to be. Back in a minute on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Simply Safe Home Security just released their brand new home security system. It's the all-new Simply Safe. Now listen, this system has been completely rebuilt and redesigned. They've added new safeguards to protect against power outages, downed Wi-Fi, cut landlines, bats, hammers, and everything in between. The all-new Simply Safe was redesigned to be practically invisible with powerful sensors so small you'll hardly notice them. You know who will notice them? Intruders. Simply Safe spent years building the system. They added so much, but you still get the same fair and honest price. 24/7 protection for only $15 a month. And with Simply Safe, there are no long-term contracts. You can't beat it. This new system is smaller, faster, and stronger than anything they've built before. But listen, supply is very limited. Go to simplysafesavage.com now to order that system. You heard me. That's simplysafesavage.com, SIMPLI, safesavage.com, to protect your home and family right now. simplysafesavage.com. It's not funny because it died too soon. They had to hear more alert. I went in Thursday night. I went in Friday night. I did my famous bean stream on Friday night during the bomb run. The bomb run over Damascus was actually on Columbus Avenue. It was good until a bum came by, to be honest. Luckily, I had a bodyguard with me that night. Luckily, just by chance. And he took 2 looks at him because I walked to the corner to continue my live broadcast on the iPhone, the bean stream. How disgusted I was with the bombing. And this guy saw me. I saw him coming towards me. He was probably figuring to rob the phone or something. Lucky the guy who was traveling with me, came over and he thought twice. It's very dangerous. I'm just telling you it is. You can exaggerate it if you want or unexaggerate it. I'm not exaggerating. It is not a city for a person to walk around without expecting either to have their car windows broken into, to be assaulted, to slip on human feces, to see a person exhibiting themselves in the street while your child is with you. There's no control. The cops have been told to stand down. The KSFO, Tim, line 2. Give us your story.
Hey, pleasure, Michael. So I was walking down Van Ness or something on my way to a metal show at the DNA Lounge, whatever. And I'm walking with a group of friends, and I looked down one of these side streets. It was dark. And there was a homeless guy. He had created some kind of safe space around him with a clear, tall garbage bag.
Ah.
He was masturbating. And you can hear him make the sounds and do the motions.
You mean he was wearing a garbage bag over himself or something else?
It was a garbage bag completely covering him from head down to about his ankles.
Do you realize how civilized that is of him, that he wasn't doing it without the garbage bag?
Yeah, at least.
No, I mean, when you think about it, you're being overly critical. You're not being very, very tolerant of him. The man wanted to masturbate. He had no home, so he put a garbage bag over himself. And that's quite civil when you consider it. I would think that's part of Nancy Pelosi's value system.
It could be. very disturbing.
What are we going to do with the fact that the San Francisco streets have become an outpatient ward and that most of them belong in a mental hospital where they would get the care that they deserve?
I don't know.
Why don't we reopen mental hospitals? There's a big one in Sonoma, old Sonoma State Hospital, where most of the poets in the Cafe Trieste area could be rounded up and put in. So think of the money we'd save. Think of the money that's given to those poets in the city who don't write poetry. They think they write poetry. All the poseurs who sit around and they collect SSRI checks, Social Security or whatever. SSRI checks, that's very funny. I meant something else. They collect the other kind of Social Security disability checks. They should get SSRI checks because most of them are on SSRIs mixed with wine and marijuana. But if we would have stopped giving them Social Security disability payments and instead put them in a mental hospital where they could get the care that they require and have a poetry center in Sonoma State, even build a cafe for them up there that looks like North Beach. And then they can make believe that they're poets and that the Zionists control Hollywood, and that's why their film scripts aren't accepted. They might be happy for the first time. Give them an old line trank like Thorazine. Have real poets come in and talk to them from time to time. There are no real poets in America. Poetry died in 1956. As you can see, this is a topic I know an awful lot about, and I enjoy talking about it. I'm going to continue talking about it. It's much more interesting than Syria.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282.
Give him a few corn husks and tell him we'll meet him later. I don't know. Look, there's a deep red state as well. It's not just a blue state of a deep state. There's a deep red state in the media. But you don't know that. You think that it's a dividing line. We're the good guys, they're the bad guys. And you try to define who the we are and who the they are, and you find out very soon that there's an interlocking connection between many of those on the so-called conservative side that has nothing to do with anything but money and business. And anyone who's an independent is their enemy, and they try to crush that person, push him off radio stations, block him from television shows, and you then think that this is bitterness. It's not bitterness, it's reality. What do you want me to do? No one else will tell you that truth, so I tell it to you. So right now, I don't even want to talk about that anymore. You want to believe what you want to believe, and you want to believe that there are good guys who are conservatives. Go ahead and believe it. I'm sorry to disappoint you. At the end of the day, it's all the bottom line. It's all the almighty dollar, and they'll do anything to crush their opponents, all in the name of being good conservatives. And they love the Constitution. They believe in the Bill of Rights. As long as the money comes into their kitty. I've been at this for a quarter of a century. I know what I'm talking about, and I know how it works, and I know who the cartel management is. Don't make any mistakes about it. But I will prevail. I will tell you that right now. I just know it. I can feel it in my bones. What happened yesterday in that courtroom is going to change everything in the media. It won't happen overnight, but it's happening already. The credibility of the cartel was finally exposed in a small manner. So now I'd rather talk about homelessness than talk about the deep state, the deep red state that exists. KSFO, Jeff, line 9. Question or comment, please.
Hey, Dr. Savage. Hey, I know you're an alumni of Cal, and I know you might be a little biased. I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but what would you say, Cal versus Johns Hopkins? I have a son that's trying to decide, and I really value your opinion.
Yeah, but in what field, though?
Molecular cell biology.
Molecular cell biology. At this stage, I don't know. I think they're equal schools. Really? How are you going to gauge which university is better in, let's say, molecular cell biology? You're going to gauge it by what? How many Nobel Prize winners there are teaching in that department?
Well, I was trying to go to the cheapest route, which of course would be Cal, but my son is very impressed with Johns Hopkins, and so I was trying to get a.
Well, if I were to analyze this question in any field, I would look at how many Nobel Prize winners are in that department to determine which department might be better. But that unto itself may not indicate a better department for your son. I would say, what opportunities is your son looking for after is he grad student going into graduate school?
Yeah, he'd be trying to go to med school possibly after. So
which of those two schools has a better track into a good medical school? I would say they're equal, wouldn't you?
They're very close. I think you're right, but I thought you would know better than I, so that's why.
Well, let me ask another question. What city do you live in now with your son?
Berkeley.
Well, you're laughing because you know the horrors of Berkeley right now. It's pretty on the outside, but rotten on the inside. But, look at Johns Hopkins. Look where that's located. It's also surrounded by a cesspool.
You're right.
When you think about it, some of the greatest cities in America in terms of educational opportunities are right in the midst of slums. Isn't that odd? So, look, Jeff, I don't have a distinct answer. I think I would research it if it was my child in terms of costs, number one, benefits, number two, what they want to do after graduating, what is the opportunity after graduation for the next step, which in your case is a fine medical school, correct? Hey, by the way, Jeff, is medicine the right field for a child to go into today?
I think it interests him more than anything else.
Yeah, well, then he'd be a good doctor. But, every doctor I talk to, and I mean some of them are really great, but they came up at another time. They complained to me about the world of medicine today. The insurance companies, the lack of payments, the lack of time they have with patients. I don't know, what kind of medicine he wants to practice either. I would suggest that I shouldn't say that. Maybe he just wants to heal people. In that case, maybe we need him, right? Jeff, I can't answer the question directly. I'm sorry, I cannot. 855-400-7282, KSFO. Tom, line 2, tell us your story.
Yeah, I was going to San Francisco, to meet some friends. And I was all dressed up with my sport coat, and I had to make the BART, because I live in the East Bay. I had to make the BART before it closes down. And I'm walking, not necessarily paying attention, mainly trying to get on BART on time. And I realize I'm kind of walking across the street. There's a cop right there. He pulls me over. It's a male-female. They pulled me over, and they give me a jaywalking ticket. And when I kind of looked up and I'm like, realized what happened, I knew there was no cars. And all of a sudden there were two homeless people walking next to me. And I'm like, I made a comment. I said, how come you pulled me? What about these two people? Sir, mind your own business.
You're surprised they didn't body slam you and arrest you?
I know. No, they went after me because sport coat. They figured
because you could pay the ticket. Someone's got to pay their pensions.
Exactly.
I mean, if you want to collect a big fat pension at age 40 for doing very little but arresting people in sport coats, what better way than to arrest people with sport coats and make them pay tickets? You can't collect from the bums.
I was just
so now they're going after people who are jaywalking in the city, but not the bums who are defecating in the city? That's terrific. I guess that's the new lifestyle choices they're making in the city. I never heard that one. That's a new one now. And I'm getting callers from younger people. I listen to people calling me who never called the show before, some of whom probably don't even self-identify as politically at all. They're calling on this problem. Susan, oh, come on. Wait, I got to take this caller. Susan online, line 8, quickly, please.
Hi, Dr. Savage?
Yes.
My sister left New York years ago, not about 8 years ago, and she's in California, and she's homeless, and she's been arrested over 30 times and put in the Orange County jail just for the type of things you're talking about. And I haven't been able to do anything to help her. I've talked to people that call themselves advocates for the homeless. I've called newspapers.
Look, this is a sad story. If it happens to someone this is not just talking about a statistic. Your voice indicates you still care about her, but and I know she's not capable of taking care of herself, and that a just state provides care for a person like that, whether they want it or not, which means she needs to be institutionalized. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I think your idea about making housing for them somewhere where they can't get a hold of the alcohol. I think she's just on alcohol, but I mean, she goes in.
I hear you. No, my position is quite clear. Some people are incapable of taking care of themselves. The state needs to step in and provide them with that care. And in this case, the problem is that you've got psychotics on the left who say, well, you're moving them out of their community. They have a right to live where they want. Well, I used to want to live on Fifth Avenue when I was in New York. I couldn't afford it. Well, I had a right to live on Park Avenue or Fifth Avenue. I couldn't afford it. So I had to live out there in Queens in some neighborhood in Flushing, New York, in an apartment I wasn't happy with, and ride a subway into New York to go to my job. I mean, that's what you do. That's how the suburbs developed, was people who wanted to live on Park Avenue but couldn't afford it. So they moved to bad neighborhoods in New York, Greenpoint, which is now a hot neighborhood, whatever. They moved into slums, or they moved out to the boroughs. That's what people do. But now everyone's equal. You should now live in Trump Tower if you want. Why? Because it's a privileged position that you didn't earn if you live there. You may have paid $6 million for the apartment, but you stole it from somebody. And so that's the new attitude of communism that's creeping into our society. And then you have the liars like Pelosi who start to feed that lie with discussions of white privilege, racism. These are code words to bring society to its knees. And that's why you must never elect a person like Hillary Clinton again. Okay, I made my point. I don't want to get worked up over it. I got a long way to go yet. I got another 25 years in radio to deal with. I made a decision this morning that I want to do this for only 25 more years. So I've got to pace myself if that's my decision. I'm only at the halfway point. And my father taught me when I was young, pace yourself, because I always used to get ahead of myself. He knew I had a hyper personality. I was always trying to do 4 things at once, and I did them well, but he said, slow down and do them 1 at a time. Well, some can do 4 at a time and do them well. Some can't do 1 thing at a time well. That's all. James, I'm sorry, I just had the Thai lunch. It's coming up. I ate too fast. This is the problem. One day I'll be able to eat a lunch without gagging on it. I just ate. You won't believe what a wonderful lunch I had from the Thai restaurant. How do you go back, though, and do a radio show 2 minutes later? They're supposed to be bad for your health, right? Eating fast and then talking right after? No, it works fine for me. I knew a guy when I was in high school. He used to tell me, don't walk so fast. Slow down. I think he died at 40. There's such a thing as being too slow. Also, you can kill yourself from thinking too slowly, walking too slowly, eating too slowly. Move faster. What's wrong with moving slower? James on KSFO, line 9. Go ahead, please.
So, Dr. Savage, as you know, anyone who's lived in this city long enough knows that the homeless crisis is at just god-awful proportions. I grew up in the city, and I have a story about 5 years old. I was at a Burger King off Van Ness Avenue. A homeless man comes in, drops his drawers, and threatens to defecate on the floor if he doesn't get a cheeseburger. And you know what they did? They gave him a cheeseburger, just pulled him up, walked away.
I would say I'm speechless, but I'm not. I have a solution to that problem as well. Unfortunately, it's illegal. No, in a sane time, even in the city, a cop would have come in and busted him open with a nightstick.
Any day of the week.
And I'll tell you something else. That guy wouldn't defecate again in a restaurant. And they would have put him in jail for 2 months, 3 months. They would have put him on breaking rocks somewhere on a highway. Don't tell me these people don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Many of them are not irrational. They know what they're doing. They're bums. They don't like to work, and they want everything for free. And on top of that, they want everybody to be afraid of them. And on top of that, they want everybody to kiss their feet. This is why it's out of control. This is why it's out of control. It's the same with them. It's the same with any living life form. It doesn't even mean the human life form. So when did this start, the degradation of our big cities? When did this big city start to become degraded? Who started the degradation of our cities? And moreover, how can we stop the degradation of our cities? I'll take your calls on these, I think, very significant topics on the Savage Nation the minute I return.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Ladies and gentlemen, sure you could have harsh treatments to look younger, but why on earth would you do that? Listen to Joanne from Connecticut. She says, my husband looks 10 years younger using Genucel. He saw results the first day he used it. I've also had remarkable results, can't be without it. Imagine the bags and puffiness under your eyes gone, and watch those sagging, droopy eyelids disappear. That's years off your appearance. Genucel by Chamonix is an easy choice. Genucel contains natural ingredients for incredible results safely and quickly. It's as simple as that. In fact, with immediate effects, you will see results like Joanne's in as little as 12 hours, or you get your money back guaranteed. And right now, perfect time, try Chamonix's brand new Genucel Eyelid Lift for droopy, sagging eyelids. You order Genucel today, and you get the brand new Genucel Eyelid Lift absolutely free. So go to Genucel.com. That's Genucel.com or 800-SKIN-891. 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 Call now. Express shipping also free. Go ahead. 800-SKIN-891. 800-SKIN-891. Or go to Genucel.com. That's Genucel.com. About a potential stock market collapse. What if it never comes? What if betting against the market is a bad idea? Truth is, our nation appears to be getting stronger by the day, not weaker. And so what if the market makes a big correction? It always recovers, right? Well, this topic is covered in a very special report from Swiss America. It's called the Crashless Society. In this remarkable free report, you'll discover how to connect the dots and find out about the hidden pluses and minuses of today's rising economic optimism. Get it for free. All you got to do is call 800-289-2646. Are you worried about your retirement account? Stop worrying. Start planning for the best years of your life. Thanks to the Crashless Society, yours free right now by calling 800-289-2646. Write it down. And remember, even during a big correction, some people seem to do very well. You know how they do it? Call 800-289-2646. Maybe it could be you. Discover how. Get the Crashless Society for free. Call it 800-289-2646. And the end of the broadcast day approaches. I've been on the air since noon here on the West Coast, which is fine. I mean, I got unlimited energy for this stuff because I enjoy poking people in the nose who are liars and hypocrites. Whether they be liberals or posing as conservatives doesn't matter to me. What you got to do is follow the money. Always follow the money, and you'll always come to the correct conclusion. So whether it's Pelosi talking about values and taking care of the children and the clean air, and yet the bums defecate in the streets of the city and she doesn't say a word about it, or it's people who pose as right-wingers who are really in it only for themselves and their money, and they're part of a vast deep state right conspiracy to deceive you and hoodwink you. It doesn't matter to me. I have positioned myself as I've always been, which is as an independent. And that's how I remain, and that's who I shall be. So this thing that came up with Hannity, don't accuse me of attacking him. Even Dershowitz scolded him for hiding the Cohen relationship. And there's no covering up what this really means. And if you think it's over, you're mistaken. Just to conclude the show with that story. Just because his good buddies represented by the same exact agent as he is, are saying he's such a great guy. Let me tell you something. He ain't such a great guy. He has done everything he can like a little dictator there at Fox News to make sure that yours truly is never heard from. They'll have pimps, prostitutes, hookers, strippers, drug addicts, depressives, manics, war criminals, but not a best-selling author who's allegedly on the same side as these wonderful red state goalkeepers. Gee, I wonder why. You think he might be threatened by my education and my knowledge and my success and the loyalty of my listeners? Or is it because I'm such a terrible fellow? Never, ever, ever underestimate the larceny that exists in men's hearts. That's all I can say to you. Never. You'll never go wrong. And if you think that there's one side that's good and the other side that's bad, you're more naive than even your mother thought you were. But let's go back to the homeless problem. Line 7. Go ahead, please.
Dr. Savage, I grew up in San Francisco on the west side of the city, which isn't so great anymore, by the way. You know, we're not immune from it. There's bums out in West Portal, just like downtown.
Well, it's they're coming to San Francisco with a flower in their hair because the welfare is so good.
But I think I know when the problem started, although I can't put my finger on the exact date. My wife and I, both born and raised here. We still live here. Most of our friends are gone. Because it's somewhere deep inside, we still love the city. But you said that the problem comes from the culture war. Explain it, please. Exactly. It's when we started confusing compassion with tolerance. You know, we got your book, God.
I'm sending you God, Faith, and Reason. Well, at least you know the difference between the two words, compassion and tolerance. Look, John, that's exactly right. That's the problem that is being ignored by the people in charge of the bum problem, which is there's a limit to tolerance. You can't have unlimited tolerance for people who are destroying your city. You know, years ago, God, I only have 55 seconds. I wrote a thing many years ago called "Even a Strawberry Has Barbs on Its Berries." And people understood what I was saying. That if you look at a strawberry under a microscope, even a magnifying glass, you'll see that the strawberry was evolved with little barbs. So what was the point of the barbs? To deter insects from eating the soft flesh of the strawberry. When a society destroys the barbs on the berry, that is, as Obama did, attacking the police, attacking the military, and as is done in the big cities by the so-called progressives who attack anyone of common sense who wants the streets cleaned up, that is destroying the barbs on the berries. And then the human kinds that we are talking about eat the flesh of the city itself. That's it with God's will and your listenership. I shall return. This is Michael Savage. You can visit me online, michaelsavage.com, and you can get a free newsletter 3 times a week, believe it or not.